Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and jabronis, to your live NFL Week 4 reaction. This is the show where I break down what I saw this Sunday. My raw reaction to all the games in Week 4. We have a lot to discuss as always. So, before I get to it, the Chiefs clobbering the Ravens. Jaxson Dart upsetting Justin Herbert. The New England Patriots, baby, pounding the Carolina Panthers. And the Philadelphia Eagles reigning supreme in the NFC. Before I get to all that and more, spike the like button. And if you're new and you're not familiar with my game, welcome. I'm Mitch, and this is the most electrifying recap you will ever see. Like the video, subscribe. Let's have some fun, man. Get in the comments and let me know what you guys think. We're going to start it off hot and heavy as everyone makes their way into this live chat, okay? We have to start it off with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. And for a game between Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, a game between Travis Kelce and Derrick Henry, a game between the Ravens and the Chiefs, I found myself not glued to the television. I found myself actually casually watching the game. I wasn't really invested. I wasn't really entertained. And maybe it's because of how the game went, but I don't know if it's just me. You guys let me know in the chat. Were you like really into this game when it started and when it was halfway through? Like, to me, I was like, there's something missing here. And maybe it's just my feeling on both teams right now. But I will certainly say this before we get into the Baltimore conversation, because Baltimore is the meat of the conversation. We have to have a talk about John Harbaugh. We have to have a talk about Lamar Jackson. We have to have a discussion about the Ravens as a whole. But before I get into that, the Chiefs scored 37 points today. Patrick Mahomes threw 4 touchdowns today. The Chiefs scored points today. I haven't said that in a while. I don't remember the last time the Chiefs scored this many points in a game. I honestly don't remember. Must have been 2023, maybe 2022. I don't know. It feels like it's been a long time since the Chiefs looked this good on offense. Now, a big reason for that is the Ravens, which we'll discuss. But if I was a Chiefs fan watching this game, I would be inspired about the outlook for the rest of the season. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl this year or win the AFC again this year. But if I were a Chiefs fan, I would say we held a really good offense to an adequate day. And honestly, at times kind of dominated that offense outside of that first drive. Lamar Jackson only had 147 yards, 1 touchdown, was sacked 3 times, and had a pedestrian 86 passer rating. They pulled Lamar Jackson, whether due to injury or not, right at the start of the fourth quarter. So the defense's element certainly lived up to the hype. When we talked about this game in the preview, I kind of thought it would be a grinder of a game, considering how the Chiefs have played offense and considering how the Chiefs have played defense against the Ravens, right? Steve Spagnuolo being able to dissect Lamar Jackson, stop the run, get after the quarterback, blitz, be complicated, be complex in the back end of the defense. I expected a low-scoring game. But the Ravens' defense is truly even more embarrassing, worse, and pathetic than I ever would imagined. But again, back to the Chiefs. If I were a Chiefs fan, I would be inspired by this offense because Rashee Rice has yet to come back. They did get Worthy back today, and Worthy led the team immediately in receiving yards. 83 receiving yards on 8 targets, 5 catches. Travis Kelce, what was he able to do in this game? Complimentary role. 5 catches, 48 yards. That's what you need from Kelce on a regular basis. You shouldn't be expecting 80 plus 100 yards a game any longer from Travis Kelce. You should need about 30, 40 yards, maybe a touchdown, a couple key third downs. Nothing too crazy. Hollywood Brown, complimentary, 3 for 38. Juju, actually better than you would expect on most days, 4 for 36 and a touchdown. Brashard Smith got involved, right? 3 catches, 27 yards. That was nice to see. I liked how they mixed up the backfield today in Kansas City. We saw Pacheco get 7 carries, 35 yards, along with 2 catches and 13 yards. And Pacheco looked more explosive in this game. Now, part of that, I think, is the Ravens' run defense, the Ravens' state of their defensive line, how injured they are. But at the same time, I do think that's partly due to, okay, we're going to split some carries with Brashard Smith. We're going to give Pacheco the change of pace role on the ground. And we're going to feature Kareem Hunt in a lot of, a lot of runs up the middle, plunging through the middle, short down, conversions, things like that. So Kareem Hunt in that role is effective. But overall, the Chiefs, offensively, you got what you wanted and you needed. Needed being a key word. 24 first downs, right? Overall, still not great on third down, but 4 for 4 on fourth down, 382 total yards, and most importantly, 7 total plays. If the Chiefs can be a ball control offense with a strong defense, that's championship caliber football. You'll get Rashee Rice back. So if I were a Chiefs fan, as much as the Ravens look like shit, I would still be pumped about this game. So Chiefs fans, don't let the media, don't let me or anyone else steal your joy because we all believe that the Baltimore Ravens are a bunch of jabronis. Just because we believe that the Baltimore Ravens are a J-A-B-O, okay, jabroni, we can't strip this success from you, okay? We can't strip this performance from you, all right? Now, I hate the Chiefs. Can't stand them. I wanted the Ravens to rip them apart. But of course, the Ravens enter Kansas City. Everyone's watching. The world's watching. And they lay an egg again. Buffalo. They blow a lead. Derrick Henry fumbles it away. At home. Redemption. Detroit. Monday Night Football. Number 1 seed in the NFC last year. You get beat down. Bullied. Chopped down by the kneecaps. By the Lions. And this week, you play the team that you hate. The team that you despise. The team that the NFL, nobody can stand the Chiefs. The sight of them. And you get annihilated, bullied, battered, bruised, and utterly dominated. It's time to talk about John Harbaugh. Because what I see, problem number 1 with the Ravens is this is not the Ravens. The Ravens are not the Ravens. They are not tough whatsoever. This is the softest Ravens team I have ever seen. They can't stop the run. They can't block. They can't rush the quarterback. Their coverage is soft. They don't hit you and put fear in you. What is this team? I'm not familiar. This is not the Ravens. Harbaugh, what do you do for me? Right now, John Harbaugh is the most overrated coach in the NFL. He was given a roster at the start of the season that many people, including myself, proclaimed the most talented roster in football. 5 first-round picks in the secondary. Killed the draft. Elite quarterback, 2-time MVP. Hall of Fame running back, top 10 of all time, maybe. 2 tight ends. A Pro Bowl receiver. And you get embarrassed by a team that can't score any points. And then we got to talk about the defensive coordinator, Mr. Orr. Is there a worse defensive coordinator in the sport right now? This should be if there's one move the Ravens make, they have to make a move at defensive coordinator. They have to make a move at defensive play caller. This is an utter embarrassment. What would Ray Lewis say? What would Ed Reed say? What would Terrell Suggs say? There's certainly no sizzle in this defense. They're trash. Derrick Henry looked like he was shot out of a cannon on every carry he got, but he only ended up with 8 of them. What is this team? Lamar Jackson still doesn't know how to beat the damn blitz. How many times are you going to play Steve Spagnuolo before you guys understand he's going to blitz you? How many fucking times? The Chiefs, credit to their defense. Leo Chanel, incredible interception. George Karlaftis had a sack. Jerry Tillery had a sack. Drew Tranquil, Nick Bolton, their linebackers, dogs. Their safeties are playing better. The Ravens' defense is embarrassing, dude. Embarrassing. They made Patrick Mahomes look like Patrick Mahomes. And you know what I mean by that statement. Embarrassing. The Chiefs hadn't been able to run the ball at all this year, and really last year either. And they made them look like the 06 Chargers with LaDainian Tomlinson today. The Ravens stink. Their defensive coordinator is the worst in the league. Their head coach is the most overrated in the league. Lamar Jackson still can't beat the blitz. And their team is soft. This is a team right now that's going nowhere. And they're injured. Matabike, done. Nate Wiggins, my guy, done. Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, slow as shit. D-line, slow. O-line, can't block anybody. They stink. I'm not even exaggerating. This team sucks. Credit to the Chiefs. They're 2-2. The Ravens are 1-3. The Ravens are so bad they might be worse than the Steelers. Think about that for a second. Okay, 37-20 Chiefs. Congratulations. I like what I saw from the Chiefs offensively, although it's really hard to tell because the Ravens defense is so bad. Okay. We're not going to get to all the games today. I have a second recap on Tuesdays where I cover anything that I don't cover today, including the main headlines and main stories. But I want to get to as much as I can that pops out at me. Okay? So, next, I want to talk quickly about the San Francisco 49ers and the Jacksonville Jags. Duval in the chat. Jacksonville is now 3-1, as is San Francisco with their first loss of the season, 26-21. Jacksonville wins. The difference being a punt return by Parker Washington late in the game, essentially. But biggest difference to me was that Brock Purdy today was one of the worst quarterbacks I watched among all the quarterbacks I watched. Brock Purdy was atrocious in this game. Don't let the stats fool you. He did have 300 yards, okay? But he threw 2 terrible interceptions and had a 79 passer rating and was strip sacked to end the game, essentially. The Niners, the theme that we've seen all year, injuries, it plagued them in this game again, but honestly, if they had not turned the ball over 3 times, they probably win this game. If Brock Purdy wasn't airmailing half his throws, they probably win this game. And I think Rob's right. I think if Mac Jones plays, they win this game. I'm not saying Mac's that great, and I'm certainly not saying Purdy is bad, but in this game in particular, Brock Purdy was not good at all. He was bad. Now, I'll also say this. Ricky Pearsall getting hurt and not playing the last 2 quarters of the game, basically, did really hurt this team because, at times, their number 1 receiver in this game was a guy that was cut by the Patriots, Kendrick Bourne. Christian McCaffrey can only do so much. He had another 150-yard game with 92 receiving yards and a touchdown, 6 catches. But the thing with the 49ers right now, their run game is not good. It's not a Shanahan run game, what we're used to seeing as one of the most efficient and effective run games in football. But McCaffrey has been the most valuable receiving running back by a mile. He's on pace to break the running back reception record by 30 or something. But honestly, the difference in this game, I actually thought the Niners defense, it says 26 points. 1 was a punt return. There was another drive at the end of the half with a long kick return. And then you add in the turnovers. I kind of felt like the Niners probably should have put up 30 in this game, if not for the fumble in Jacksonville territory and an interception in Jacksonville territory. And also a turnover on downs in Jacksonville territory. They probably should have scored 30 points despite all the injuries today. And their defense, held Trevor Lawrence, another passer, to under 200 yards, 174 yards. But Jacksonville's most consistent offense all year has been their run game. And their run game was by far the best I've seen against San Francisco all year. And their run game's legit. Travis Etienne had a very good game, including a 48-yard touchdown, 124 yards in total, and a touchdown. Okay, Tootin, 14 yards, only 3.5 yards per carry. Brian Thomas still wasn't Brian Thomas, but he played a bit better, 5 catches for 49 yards. Brenton Strange had some clutch catches, 6 for 45. Travis Hunter did have a better game than usual, 3 for 42. He had a big catch on 3rd down in their own end, which ended in a touchdown that started at their own 2-yard line or something. It started within their own 10-yard line. And he had a big 3rd down catch that I thought was actually not a catch. They challenged it and they said the play stood, but that was debatable. But honestly, Jacksonville's defense looks solid. Their linebackers are fantastic. Their corners are solid. Thought their pass rush was all right. Eric Armstead was key in the end of the game, the former Niner, to force the fumble on Brock Purdy, got a little revenge. But I don't know. I didn't feel like Jacksonville's defense was overwhelming. I felt like most of it was the Niners making mistakes. Their defense on paper is top 10, as brought up by Caleb in the chat. But I thought it was more on Brock Purdy missing guys open, sailing the ball. Like, the Niners, they had 22 first downs, which was more than Jacksonville. They were 8 for 13 on third down, which is actually pretty good. They had 389 yards. They had 6.2 yards per play, which was a whole yard better than Jacksonville. So, I didn't really think the Jacksonville defense was that great. Jacksonville also had 12 penalties for 90 yards, and a lot of them were on offense. A lot of holdings, from what I remember. Jacksonville deserved the win because they played the cleaner brand of ball, but it was not a convincing game from Trevor Lawrence. But it was kind of the type of game they needed to beat the Niners, if that makes sense. Like, their defense made some clutch plays, got some turnovers, and Brock Purdy shit himself. And that was basically the game, in my opinion. The Niners will play on Thursday night against the Rams. So let's talk about the Rams over the Colts, 27-20. Both 3-1 teams now, okay? Similar to Jacksonville and San Francisco. The team that was undefeated lost, okay? The Colts should have won this game, 100%. Not even a debate. Adonai Mitchell maybe not should have won, but at least should have went to overtime, okay? Like, I don't know what he's doing, but he got a touchdown, basically, and he fumbled the ball through the back of the end zone. Like, what are you doing, dude? He had a touchdown, and he threw it into the back of the end zone. You remember when Deshaun Jackson dropped the ball at the 1 yard line? That's basically what this guy did. But worse. He fumbled the ball through the back of the end zone and gave the other team a touchback, bro. And then, not only that, he held on a Jonathan Taylor touchdown. So he took away 2 touchdowns. 2. That being said, the Rams did have more first downs and considerably more yards. They also had more yards per play. The Rams ended up with 462 yards. The thing is with the Rams, they scored 27 points in this game. When you have nearly 500 yards of offense, you should score like 40 points. You should score like 30 plus. I continue to watch the Rams and say, they just suck in the red zone or something. Like, I don't know what it is, but this offense almost should be better than it is. And they didn't score. They scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. 14 of the points came in the fourth quarter. So, and they were moving the ball throughout the game, but it just feels like they settle for too many field goals and or they get stopped like in the opponent's territory. Like, I don't know, but they constantly move the ball and then they get stopped in the red zone. Stafford, 29 for 41, 375, 3 touchdowns, and a 123 rating. He was sacked 3 times, but he exposed the weakness of the Colts, which was the secondary. Puka Nacua once again went nuclear. He does this every week. Basically the most productive receiver, not basically, he is the most productive receiver in the league, having a case for the best receiver in the league right now. 13 catches, 170 yards, and a touchdown, whether it be on a screen, a slant, a deep dig route. This guy's just always making a play on third down in the red zone anytime that Matthew Stafford needs it. Devontae Adams did have a very nice connection in the back of the end zone from Matthew Stafford where he looked off the coverage and ripped it down the middle, and Adams found the seam and he caught it. The game-winning touchdown, though, felt cheap. Like, I don't know if it was Kenny Moore. It was one of the Colts defensive backs. Fell on his face. Tutu Atwell wide open. Stafford just hits him for a 80-yard touchdown as the guy fell on his face. Tutu Atwell's only catch of the game. And it ends up in a touchdown. But yeah, Stafford once again, he's been one of the best quarterbacks this season. This was the game where his stats actually looked like his level of performance. And I will say, The run game of the Rams is a bit up and down. Today, it was solid, but it's very much like not explosive, if that makes sense. Like 13 carries, 77 yards, the long of 11 from Kyren Williams. And I think a lot of that has to do with the running backs. Like, I feel like if the Rams had a really, really good running back, like, let's just say if the Rams had Bijan, you know what I'm saying? That their run game would be a lot better. Or not even Bijan, but like, I don't know, like, just give them like a good running, like Chuba Hubbard. Like, honestly, like, I feel like their run game would be a lot better if they just had a little bit more speed at that position. Ty Warren, I thought, had a really good game. He ran for a touchdown on a designed fullback dive. He caught a number of passes over the middle, 5 for 70. Michael Pittman had a touchdown plus 41 yards on 10 targets. Jonathan Taylor robbed of a touchdown, but did have 76 yards on the ground. The Rams did mostly a good job against him, and they've done a good job against the run and running backs overall all season, so that continues to be a point of emphasis for their defense. Daniel Jones had the roughest game of his season. He was under a lot of duress and pressure, and he should have, honestly, Daniel Jones should have thrown like 4 or 5 picks in this game from what I saw. Like, he was trying to throw the ball over the middle on these like crossers and these deep in routes, and there was a Ram just sitting there all the time and like just dropping the ball. Like drop. Like, I don't know how many times I saw that on my screen, but 24 for 33, 262 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. One of them was to close the game. On the final drive, the Colts had a chance to tie the game, and they didn't do it. They threw an interception. The Rams have a little bit of problems protecting Stafford, and sometimes it feels like Stafford has to get rid of the ball too fast. I think that's why they struggle in certain moments in the red zone and on third down. But I think overall, this was a good game between two pretty good teams, in my opinion. But it definitely felt like through the first 3 quarters, the Colts should have won this game. And then the fourth quarter, the Rams took off and they were able to win it because the Colts just made too many mistakes. With the Mitchell play was a big deal. I mean, that was a big deal. If they get that touchdown, I'm not sure the Rams win the game. So there's that. The Eagles and the Bucs was a huge game earlier. If you guys haven't already, like the video, man, it definitely helps other people find this reaction, find this live stream, find the channel. So make sure you like the video. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. I cover all 32 NFL teams. This live reaction happens every single Sunday, guys. 31-25 for the Eagles, okay? So I was primarily watching the Patriots game, as you guys know, and providing commentary. But this was an interesting game because the Eagles were up on the scoreboard early in the game, and it felt like they were in control and ahead. I think it was 24-6 at halftime, if I'm not mistaken. And then the second half was kind of completely dominated by Tampa Bay, but they just weren't able to get that last push to win the game. So, like, Tampa Bay's been the cardiac kids the entire season, and they just weren't quite able to come back in this one. But if you look at the stats, right, the Eagles won by 6. Tampa had more first downs. They had nearly double the amount of yards. They had 2.1 yards per play more, 5.5 to 3.4. Philly only had 3.4 yards per play in this game. That is not good. Yards per completion for the Eagles was 4.3. Rushing yards, Bucky Irving had a strong game. They had more rushing yards than the Eagles. But red zone, Eagles 3 for 3, Tampa 0 for 2. Okay? And then also penalty-wise, Eagles did have more, 8 for 83. But basically, I mean, the blocked punt, which led to, so I think it might have been the first play of the game, the first drive of the game. The Bucs got their punt blocked. That resulted in a touchdown for the Eagles. And there was also, like an interception in the end zone by Baker, where Baker just like threw it up for grabs and the Eagles picked it off. And then there was a fumble by Bucky Irving, which also resulted in a short drive for the Eagles, which was a touchdown. So, like, honestly, the Bucs maybe outplayed the Eagles here. But the Eagles were able to win because of the mistakes and because of the early lead that the Bucs gave them. I would also say that the Bucs were really ineffective on third down in comparison to what they typically do. They were 3 for 13, and they were also 1 for 3 on fourth down. Feels like the Bucs are really good on third down in most games, and they're really good on fourth down. I think last year they led the NFL on third down in percentage. And today they were only 3 for 13 and 1 for 3 on fourth. There was a lot of pressure on Baker Mayfield in this game. A lot of pressure. Baker got sacked only twice, but I swear to you, there was pressure all over him for a majority of the game. And he had a lot of incompletions. He threw the ball 40 times, 18 incompletions, 22 for 40. He did end up with 289 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also, Emeka Egbuka did have a long touchdown. That was a big play. Bucky Irving also had a long touchdown. I don't know if that was a blown coverage or what, but just seemingly wide open down the sidelines. It might have been a wheel route, but Bucky and Emeka Egbuka both had 102 and 101 yards. Chris Godwin returned in this game, was held for 26 yards, only caught 3 of his 10 targets. Big Al says, I'm still concerned about our offense. That's 3 straight games we've had under 300 yards. Yeah, I think the Eagles' defense won this game. Eagles' defense and special teams won them this game, 100%. 100%. Because Jalen Hurts had 130 yards of passing, 62 yards rushing, which was pretty effective for him. But Saquon, again, held under 50 yards rushing. Dallas Goedert, the leading receiver, with 37 yards. A.J. Brown had 2 catches for 7 yards. Like, the Bucs, they always give the Eagles offense problems. But this was a basically fully healthy Eagles offense. They were given a lead. They were given short fields. And yet they still looked pretty bad. So Big Al's 100% right. Tampa outperformed them from an offensive perspective, but they're lucky that the Eagles defense, or the Eagles are lucky that they're able to get so many third down stops, so many incompletions, turnovers, blocked punts, all that sort of stuff, fumbles. So, interceptions in the end zone. So, I don't know what to make of this game. This feels like I need to rewatch this, but I think there's reasons to be encouraged by for both sides, I would say. Reasons to be encouraged if you're on both sides. I would say Tampa needs to get healthier, specifically their offensive line. I think you could be encouraged if you're a Bucs fan about your defense. I think they played pretty well, and that was their weakness last year. And I think if you're an Eagles fan, you're encouraged by your defense, despite, allowing 2 big touchdowns down the field that were kind of egregious. But that was the strength of this game. But the Eagles' offense continues to struggle. Last week, yeah, they had a pretty good bounce back second half, but it's only been one half of the entire year where they've really been that good, right? I do want to touch on Buffalo just real quick. They struggled with the Saints for a good portion of this game. It's like 3 quarters. The game was fairly close. Buffalo ended up pulling away and winning 31-19. Josh Allen did have, another really good game. He had a couple of ridiculous runs where he was able to seal the game. He had 7 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. He also had 2 touchdowns passing the ball, and 209 yards through the air. He had an 88.6 QBR, which is very high. James Cook had also 117 yards. I could make an argument that the Bills might be the best rushing team in the league. They're at least in the discussion. But the Saints played admirably. I do want to say, like, the Saints, other than the Seahawks game, which honestly wasn't as bad as the score, the Saints, they've been playing hard. Like, I give them some credit. They've been playing hard. They've been playing competitively. Like, when you look at it, like, the Titans I might have to put the Titans in last in my power rankings. Like, the Titans got shut out by the Texans today. And I get that the Texans defense is good, but the Texans have looked like jabronis for 3 straight weeks, and they lost 26-0. Right? Spencer Rattler only 126 yards in this game against the Bills. But their run game was pretty good. Miller and Kamara both had above 4.5 yards per carry. So that's a good thing if you're a Saints fan. Another kind of not so satisfying win if you're a Bills fan, though. It's a win, but it's not a dominant win the way that you would want for a team that I think should be the best in the league. Or at least I would favor to win the Super Bowl right now. That's Buffalo. But that's mostly because they have Josh Allen and not because of the team itself. Okay? So in collaboration with that, speaking of the Texans, they won 26-0. CJ Stroud had a good day statistically. 22 for 28, 233, 2 touchdowns. He was only sacked twice. They actually looked pretty good in this game. Now, the Titans, they can't really rush the quarterback. So that's part of it. But I think a big part of it was the change at running back. Woody Marks, 69 yards on the ground, 4.1 yards per carry, and a touchdown. He also caught 4 balls for 50 yards and another touchdown. So the Texans got that running back involved, running the ball, catching the ball. It certainly helped CJ Stroud, and their defense is ridiculous. Like, it's probably the best defense in the league. I thought it was the best entering the season. It's been rather number 1 or number 2 this year, along with Cleveland, in my opinion. The Texans' defense is awesome. So, I mean, they held Cam Ward to 10 completions, 108 yards, an interception, and they had 2 sacks and a 35 passer rating. 0 points allowed. So, shout out to Jeffrey Simmons, though. He did have 4 tackles for loss. Danielle Hunter had 2 sacks in that game. 26-0 Texans. The Giants upset the Chargers. Guys, if you haven't already, Gronk spiked the like button. Justin Herbert throws 2 picks in this game. They lose Joe Alt. I hate to say it, I'm worried about the Chargers. This is not a game you can lose. I understand that it was a bit of a trap game. The Chargers have had a lot of travel. They started in Brazil. They went to Las Vegas. They then went back home to LA, right? Then they went all the way from west to east, played early game in New York against a rookie quarterback with a hyped crowd. I get all that, okay? But the offensive line really struggled. Really struggled here. Herbert was under constant pressure. He threw nearly 20 incompletions against a pretty bad secondary of the Giants, and he threw 2 interceptions. Justin Herbert had been playing like the best quarterback in football, and I don't think it's anything that Herbert did. It's just that they had very little time for him to throw. And early on, the Giants kind of caught the Chargers defense off guard. They caught them with Jaxson Dart running the ball for 5.4 yards per carry, 10 attempts, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Jaxson Dart was also efficient with his passes, 13 for 20, 111. And the biggest thing you could say about Jaxson Dart, he didn't turn it over 1 time. He was sacked 5 times by the Chargers, but 0 interceptions. Cam Skattebo ran hard, but not efficiently, 79 yards on 25 carries. But this, for the Giants, it was all about ball possession, grinding the game out, winning the game with defense, winning the game with short yardage, winning the game with sacks. That's how the Giants won this game. They realized entering the game, and honestly, it was a brilliant game plan. They realized we don't want our rookie quarterback drop back and having to survey a very complicated coverage defense of the Chargers. We want to grind the game out. And so they complemented their running game with their running back, with their quarterback, and it worked really well. So give Brian Daboll some credit. Now, in this game in particular, Amarian Hampton needed more touches. He had only 12 carries for 128 yards. He had a 54-yard touchdown. You need to give him more work when your offensive line is beat up and when you can't protect the quarterback. You don't want your quarterback dropping back against Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence, this much in a game. And Hampton needed to get the ball more. Quentin Johnston had another really good game. 8 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown on 13 targets. Malik Neighbors, big storyline of the game. Joe Alt went out. Malik Neighbors probably tore his ACL. If it hasn't been confirmed yet, I'm pretty sure he tore his ACL. One of the most talented receivers in football. One of the biggest fantasy assets out for the year. Horrifying, horrible for the young Jaxson Dart to start his career as well. But you got to give Giants credit for the win. Brian Burns had a huge sack in this game. Thule had 4 sacks for the Chargers, 5 tackles for loss. No Khalil Mack. That's a really impressive performance for him. And I do remember a big Dexter Lawrence. Was it an interception by Dexter Lawrence? He had a interception that put the Giants inside the 5-yard line. That was a huge play in the game. And like I said, I think the reason the Giants won this game is time of possession. They had the ball for 35 minutes compared to the Chargers' 24 minutes. That was huge in this game. What else do I want to talk about? The game's almost going to begin. We do have our second recap on Tuesday, guys. So if I haven't mentioned your game, I apologize. I've mentioned many of them. Shout out to the Lions for beating the Browns and covering 34-10. I haven't watched that game. What I did see was some explosive Jahmyr Gibbs runs, some big Amon-Ra touchdowns. Jared Goff, I didn't think it was his best game from what I saw. He did throw a pretty ugly interception. He only had 168 yards looking at the stats. So I need to go back. Also, Joe Flacco threw one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. He threw it directly to the safety. What's his name? Dude, guy that led the league in picks last year. What's his name? Why can't I remember his name? Kirby Joseph. He just threw the ball up to Kirby Joseph. Like, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. In my opinion, just quick take on that game. Joe Flacco needs to be sat. And also, Cleveland's defense, I know that 34 points, it says, they did allow a punt return. 34 points. They only allowed 16 first downs and 277 yards. So Cleveland's defense is still pretty ridiculous. But this was kind of the game that I thought it would be. A grind for Detroit, but decisive in the end. Their defense played well. And they made Joe Flacco make mistakes. So that's kind of what they needed from this game. Special teams also provided a spark. But impressive win for the Lions nonetheless. Just that Cleveland needs to look at the other quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel should be playing, in my opinion, next week. Pittsburgh and Minnesota, 24-21 Pittsburgh. I might leave that one for Tuesday, but just overall theme, I was really impressed by the Steelers' offense. Aaron Rodgers was extremely efficient, 18 for 22 for 200 and a touchdown. He mostly avoided the pressure of the Vikings and got the ball out very decisively and quickly. Kenneth Gainwell might have to be their lead running back because he ran extremely hard. He had 5.2 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns with 99 yards rushing. The Vikings looked extremely flawed defensively. They couldn't stop the run, and they couldn't cover DK Metcalf, who had a 80-yard touchdown on a slant, and just overall, whenever he wanted it, kind of got the ball. And yeah, the Vikings looked to me like the worst team in their division. And honestly, it wasn't about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz played well. Statistically, he had 350 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He did get sacked 6 times, and that's a big problem to me. Their offensive line is horrendous. Horrible. Terrible. No good. And just the overall offense has very little rhythm to it in Minnesota. And the defense, I kind of feel like when you look at the competition they've played, it's just not as good as I think people think it is. Also, the O-line of the Steelers the last 2 games has actually played better than people would expect. Like, I thought they played well against the Patriots, and I thought that carried over against the Vikings for the Steelers. So that's very quick on that game. But some really good signs for the Steelers. Actually, some signs of hope. I do want to end with the Patriots and my thoughts on this game. I do have to say, thank you so much, Ryan, for the super chat, by the way. Where did the lines go with DJ Reed out for a while? Thank you for the super chat. They do have solid depth at the corner position. I do wonder if they would think about moving. Well, Rocky Sin is there, who's okay. He's serviceable. But they could move Amik Robertson outside and put Brian Branch at the nickel spot. That's a move that they could make. For the Patriots, I told all you guys, like, everyone's like, where are you going to rank the Patriots when they lose to the Carolina Panthers, Mitch? And I kept telling you, they're not going to lose to the Carolina Panthers. I kept telling you, they should have beat the shit out of the Steelers last week, but they fumbled the ball 4 times, and they gave the ball away twice inside the 5-yard line. The Patriots pounded the Panthers, and they kept on pounding the Panthers for 60 minutes. The Panthers are not on the Patriots level. Everyone thought that was the case. Patriots sucked last year. They sucked this year. Whatever, bro. No. That's why you have to actually watch the games, people. Because the Patriots have only been beating themselves the entire year. Now they're 2-2. They beat the Panthers 42-13 and put up a 40-burger on Carolina's head. Drake May is officially elite with a 14 for 17, 203 and 2 touchdown performance, 155 passer rating. Drake May has joined the likes of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Kurt Warner to be the only quarterbacks in NFL history to have 3 straight games of, I think it's 200 yards, 75% completion percentage, and 2 passing touchdowns in 3 straight games. So congratulations to Drake May. He also ran for a touchdown, and he pulled off the Cam Newton celebration against the Panthers, his hometown team. He grew up in North Carolina. He played for North Carolina, and he beat Carolina today. The Patriots played a really encouraging game. They threw the ball when they needed to throw the ball. They screened the ball when they needed to screen the ball. They ran the ball when they needed to run the ball. They played defense. They played special teams. But the real game-changing play was in the first quarter. Marcus Jones with one of the best punt returns you'll see. 2 broken tackles, and he takes off down the left sideline and cuts it back for a touchdown. Marcus Jones had 2 insane punt returns in this game. 1 for a touchdown, 1 for a near touchdown that set up a later touchdown for the Patriots. Marcus Jones, best punt returner in the league. He was great on the Patriots a couple years ago, Pro Bowl level. He was back today. That was a game-changing play for the Patriots. But the Patriots, honestly, the only bad thing I can say is the start to the game was terrible. The Patriots looked like they had 0 energy. Their defense gave up an immediate touchdown to the Panthers. We were immediately in a hole. Other than that, the Patriots thoroughly kicked Carolina's ass. Bryce Young had 150 yards. Surprisingly, he didn't throw an interception. He was only sacked 1 time, but he had 150 yards, 18 completions on 30 attempts. Andy Dalton later scored a garbage touchdown in the 4th quarter, but that doesn't really matter. Josh Dobbs also got into this game. Stephon Diggs, also headline, had a big game. 6 catches, 101 yards. Didn't score a touchdown, but 100 yards for Diggs, that's a big game. That's a big sign. Hunter Henry scored another touchdown today. And all the running backs, there was a triple backfield, a 3-headed monster. You had Stevenson, Henderson, and Gibson all touch the ball and all run for 4 yards or better per carry. Patriots, were a little leaky in the run game. Hubbard had 4.9 yards per carry, but they held Dowdle in check. And the Patriots pass rush, I thought, was effective despite a lack of sacks. I thought that Milton Williams and Christian Barmore affected the pocket. I continue to be impressed by Harold Landry's get off. Caleb Chase on third down. He can get after it. Jack Gibbons stood out to me. Christian Gonzalez returned today, and he looked like Christian Gonzalez. He shut down McMillan for most of the game when he was on him. And the Patriots' coverage looked so much better. They gave up almost nothing beyond 10 yards. Like, nothing. Everything was underneath. So, 42-13 Patriots. That's the main theme of the game. Drake May is a stud. Patriots are a good team. They are a good team. They have a real challenge next week, a very hard challenge. They take on the MVP and the undefeated Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football in Buffalo. I expect that game to be close because I think the Patriots have the defensive personnel to slow down the Bills, and I do expect Drake May to play well against the Bills defense. But I'm looking forward to that game. I think it will be a good game. Nate in the chat says, have to give you credit. I said I doubted the Pats and pivoted off the Pats in Survivor and should have stayed. Yeah, I had the Pats in Survivor too. He also says, stayed alive though and still can use the Pats versus the Saints. Yeah, cool. Tyler says, are you doing Sunday night? No, I'm not. I'm going to end it. I'm going to go eat. Then I'll do a recap after the game. So stick around for the recap later. That's all I really got to say for this recap. I didn't touch on the Bears game. Unfortunately, they won it late. Blocked field goal. The Raiders had a chance to win it. But we'll talk about everything else on Tuesday and all the things once I watch the film and go back and watch everything. I'll have my rants. I'll have everything ready to go. Enjoy the Packers and the Cowboys. Parsons in Dallas. It's going to be fun. Thanks, guys, for watching. And Gronk, spike the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Good luck, guys, on any bets you have tonight, your fantasy matchups, and enjoy the game. We'll see you after the game for the recap. Peace.